All right, let's go ahead and get into it. So, over the weekend, Alabama head coach Nick Saban and their offensive coordinator Tommy Rees met with the media, and they were asked the question that is on every Alabama fan's mind: who's going to be the starting quarterback? Now, Nick Saban gave one of his Nick Saban like answers, and I'm just paraphrasing here. He stated, "Hey, when somebody takes hold of the quarterback room, I'll let you guys know." So, if Alabama wants to live up to their lofty preseason ranking, ranked number 3, and Alabama wants to get back to the playoffs after missing it last year, the obvious choice that they have to go with is Jalen Monroe. Now, there are three guys that are vying for the position: Monroe, Buckner, and Simpson. So I'm going to break down the three quarterbacks and explain why I think it has to be Monroe. So let's start with Buckner. So he transfers into Alabama from Notre Dame, where he started 3 games last year. Now, Alabama offensive coordinator Tommy Rees was at Notre Dame last year. So he has familiarity with Tommy Rees's system and Tommy Rees's style of play calling. So the big game that he played was the first game of the season versus Ohio State last year. And in that game, he was 10 of 18 for 177 yards, ran the ball 11 times for 18 yards. It was a thoroughly pedestrian game. They could not move the ball. Watching that game, he came into the game with a lot of hype. I thought he was a pedestrian athlete. You know, he could move, but nothing special, not a Michael Vick, Lamar Jackson type movement. And he struggled passing. This is with an All American Michael Mayer tight end on his team. The next game I think that would be comparable as well would be a South Carolina game that they played towards the end of the season. And, the production was better, but 18 for 33 passing in that game, 275 yards, 3 interceptions, but 3 touchdowns. And he had 61 yards rushing. So you could look at this and say, hey, he did improve as the season went on. He only actually started 3 games. He got hurt after Marshall, but maybe the South Carolina game is something that you can hang your hat on and say, hey, this guy can improve. But in just watching him play and watching his passing ability, everything just screams average to me when you watch him play. So the next guy would be Jalen Monroe. So he came in last year when Bryce Young got hurt versus Arkansas, and the offense really struggled. Now you're going from Bryce Young, the number 1 overall pick, to a guy, coming off cold in the bench who had no idea that he was going to be starting. You have to probably cut him a little bit of slack here, but the passing really struggled. He was only 4 of 9 for 65 yards and a touchdown. But where he really thrived was rushing. He did show the Michael Vick, Lamar Jackson type dynamism in the run game, and capped that off with a 77-yard touchdown run. Now, the second game where he knew he was going to be the starter, and when Texas A&M knew that he was going to be a starter and were able to game plan for him, the efficiency in his running really fell off a cliff. So he ran the ball for 17 times. He ran the ball 17 times for only 83 yards. Now, passing, he did have 3 touchdowns, but he passed for under 150 yards. So when I watched him play, I saw special athleticism and special ability as a runner, but really choppy skills as a passer. And the final guy, Simpson, I haven't really seen him play. He only had 5 passing attempts last year. Now, the word out of Alabama is that of these 3 guys, he's the best pure passer. Now, he's no slouch. He was a 5-star coming out of Tennessee. It was, I believe, Mr. Football in Tennessee. And depending on the rankings, he was anywhere from the number 1 to number 3 quarterback in his class when he came out. So, that guy, he's actually a dark horse. You don't really know too much about him. They say he throws the best ball. He has the pedigree. But if he was really that great of a player, he probably would have snatched this position by now. Nick Saban doesn't seem to be like a guy that's beating around the bush. So if you have these 3 guys with strengths and weaknesses, weakness for Simpson being that he hasn't really played, I think you have to go with Monroe, because Monroe is the guy that has the true dynamic talent, his legs. Now, if he can marry that to some semblance of a passing game, then you have a truly dynamic weapon to attack with. Part of Alabama's problem last year that I think they still have this year is that they lack explosiveness in their receiving core. And if you truly lack explosiveness in your receiving core, having a dual threat quarterback can make up for that. Now, they do have a 5-star recruit, Hale, that can come in that is a really explosive player. We'll see if he plays as a true freshman. We've seen that happen with receivers before. So maybe he can give them a dynamic punch. And there's a junior college receiver, Malik Benson, that also signed with Alabama that guys have high hopes for. But again, we're talking about a true freshman and a JUCO transfer. Maybe they blow up, maybe they don't. But with everything being nebulous, I think you have to go with the most dynamic, the most explosive of the players, and that is obviously Jalen Monroe. All right, let me know what you think. Leave me a comment, subscribe, and as always, the game is the game.